Hey guys, how's it going? Happy to be able to do this video in English today. To start things off, you guys are probably already familiar with the names given for the loss of speech, of sight, of hearing, but do you guys know the name given for the loss of the sense of smell? Anosmia. This disability was practically unheard of from the general public before March of 2020, and it never really received much attention. Smell is one of the least explored and studied sense, opposed to sight and hearing that are continuously studied to detect the impacts they can have on our quality of life. Our senses enable us to establish a connection with the outside world, favor our social interactions, and are essential for our well-being and our survival. But how is the sense of smell, like the other senses, essential to our daily lives? Is its absence truly a handicap? And does it really impair on our quality of life? Through this video, we will try to analyze the repercussions of such loss, and by diving into nutrition, social interactions, and memory. So let's start with the most obvious, nutrition. Usually when you lose your sense of smell, you also lose your sense of taste. So anosmia leads to ageusia. The olfactory epithelium is the mucosa of the nasal cavity that detects olfactory molecules and sends the information to the brain. Orthonasal olfaction is when we detect these molecules by the nose, retronasal olfaction when they are detected by the mouth. But both are read by the same medium, so both are intrinsically linked and operate with the same mechanism. They just enter through a different medium. We all remember when as kids we used to plug our nose to taste less the flavors of the foods we didn't enjoy. And this would also happen naturally when we would have a runny nose. So it is important to remember that losing your sense of smell usually leads to losing your ability to taste. And the sense of smell opens up our appetite. We've all already experienced this by walking by a pizza place or a bakery or a candy shop, with all these smells making our mouth water. And when we pass these smells, we start craving for these specific foods. The smell of pizza will not make you want to eat sushi. And this example is pretty easy to understand, but note that smell does not only make you crave for this specific food, it also influences you in consuming similar energy profiles, which means that if you smell a food that is rich in calories, you will naturally want to consume a food that is very high in calories as well. So smell not only opens up your appetite, it opens it up for a specific olfactive profile as well as energy profile. And studies have showed that we have evolved that way in order to prepare our digestive system before the consumption of these micro and macronutrients. A series of studies have shown that entrees and desserts containing fruits and vegetables were more often selected from a restaurant menu after unconsciously exposing individuals to melon and pear odors. But when they were notified about the exposures to these smells, their choices were not as influenced. This shows that we are constantly manipulated by all the smells surrounding us, and more so when these smells are detected unconsciously. So now that we better understand the impact of the sense of smell in nutrition and our diets, it is interesting to see how these actions affect people with anosmia. And two of the most recurrent problems are the loss of appetite as well as the lack of food enjoyment. And this also leads to eating less because they do not enjoy their meals as much as they used to. And another big difficulty they have is controlling expired food, because we usually smell our food to make sure they're still fresh and good. And since they can't do that, if they have no one else around them to help them out, they have to throw it away, and they have to be therefore even more vigilant and being careful, because sometimes food turns even before the expiry date, so they always have to be careful with this issue. Cooking is also a big source of anxiety for people with anosmia, because when they put something in the oven or on the stove, if it's been cooking for too long, the moment they realize that, it's usually too late. And this can be very dangerous, especially with gas stoves, for example, or if a fire breaks out. And this is not exclusive to food. Anything related to heat can really make them anxious, like turning on a candle or turning on a hair straightener, because they're less equipped to act in case of an emergency. And meals have become more than just eating. In all countries, food has developed traditions, and meals have become social events. Whether it is business lunches, family dinners, or snacking with friends, food has taken an important place in each of our cultures. No longer enjoying our meals could therefore have an impact on our desire to participate in these events, and therefore reduce some of our social activities. Like, would you really spend as much money going to restaurants with friends if you can't even enjoy your meal? The loss of smell, beyond the hedonic pleasure that our meals give us, can also have an impact on our social life and our mental state. And this is what we will see in our second part, the impact of anosmia on our social interactions. The sense of smell plays an important role in our interactions and the social interactions we develop. Our body odors continuously and unconsciously create a link with the external environment, and they are not subject to the same disturbances that affect the other senses. In the dark or in a noisy environment, the sense of smell continues to act normally. It resists the physical and temporal barriers by dispersing freely in air and water and over an extended period of time. So the sense of smell brings us a lot of information about the outside world and thus our interactions with others. It is the only out of the 5 senses that is chemical in nature, and it is the one that is the most early developed in the fetus. At birth, it is the most mature scent, far more than sight, and guides the baby to the breast in order to feed. It also strengthens the bond between the mother and the child because a mother can easily recognize the smell of her baby, and same goes with the baby who can identify the smell of his mom between many others. And therefore we can naturally ask ourselves, what are the impacts of a birth anosmia on the development of a child? Everyone's smell is the reflection of their identity. It's like a fingerprint. It therefore plays a recognition role with those around us and influences our choices in friends and partners. We are more likely to create strong relationships with olfactive profiles that are similar to ours, and smell also plays a role of sexual repulsion between 2 profiles that are too similar in order to prevent from incest. It is very interesting to see how much smell influences our sexuality. Body odor tells us the compatibility between our partner and us, with a preference for different human leukocyte antigen HLA profiles. We're not going to enter too much in detail, but to put it simply, remember that the sense of smell plays an important role in the attraction of 2 partners. And it goes even further because heterosexual men are even more attracted to women in the peak of their fertility in their menstrual cycle. And this attraction diminishes when she uses contraception. These studies indicate that body odors shape the sexual attraction between 2 partners. But what's even crazier is that our sexual orientations influence our odor preferences as well as our own body odor. Our sense of smell therefore assists us in finding our partner as well as the most favorable moment for procreating. Anosmia would therefore taint our relationship with the other in our search for a partner as well as in the life of a couple. And it is also very common to see a drop in libido after being affected by anosmia. No longer being able to smell the skin of our partner has a direct impact on the sexual stimulation, and far too often this loss of libido can then lead into anxiety and depression, which only fuels even more this vicious circle. But smell does not only impact our sexuality. Body odors can also transmit mood like fear, joy, or sadness. Human sweat produces behavioral and psychological reactions between individuals. A defense mechanism that may have been very useful for our survival in order to communicate with a different sense between us through a shorter and more direct language. Some factors minimize this olfactory communication, such as pregnancy, in order to protect the mother and the fetus from the consequences of a stressful reaction. So smells play an important role in conveying mood by mimicking or reacting to the donor's response, such as feeling anxious after detecting an aggressive smell. Losing your sense of smell therefore means preventing a certain gregarious attitude from occurring naturally and unconsciously in society. It is also closing the door to a language that enables us to have emotional connections with others in order to better understand their character and their mood. And not being able to have this tool that helps us analyze our situations and our social interactions is a big disadvantage, and especially when encountering new people and meeting new people, to try to figure them out and grasp their personality. We have talked a lot about our unconscious attitudes, but there are also all the conscious gestures of everyday life attached to our culture, like washing your body, washing your hair, brushing your teeth, putting on deodorant, wearing perfume. And what's funny is that these natural habits that have become crucial to our modern society are here to mask our own smells, as if to protect ourselves from the people who ventured too far in our secret gardens. But of course, it is also to meet the hygiene rules of our modern society. Smell is also a tool that helps us detect the mental and physical health of individuals, and these daily gestures really allow us to optimize the way people perceive us, ensuring a healthy lifestyle in general. Anosmics therefore do not have the necessary control tools in order to optimize their integration in society. This is why they are often helped by friends and family members in order to find the right products, cosmetics, hygienic products, fragrances, in order for them to find the right olfactive identity and one that is suitable for today's society. They also sometimes deprive themselves from certain foods, like garlic for example, which would affect their relationship with others, not being able to check their own breath. An obsession that often comes up with people suffering from anosmia is the fear of forgetting. The fear of forgetting the smell of their loved ones, of their favorite food, of their pets, or of the fragrances they used to wear. We can see that there is a true attachment to these olfactive memories, probably due to everything we have mentioned so far. This leads us to our third part, memory. So this part will be a bit shorter than the rest, but it remains important nonetheless. Olfaction has a direct and rapid link with the area of the brain that stores memories. This is why fragrances and smells in general tend to bring back a lot of vivid memories. In French, we even have this expression, Madeleine de Proust, that refers to a lost memory that's brought back due to smell. This very important link between memory and olfaction is also the reason why in some hospitals, they actually treat people who have Alzheimer's with olfaction, having them smell essential oils to try to bring memories back and try to cure their disease. If the sense of smell can have such a huge impact on memory and bring back memories to life, it forces us to wonder the effect that anosmia can have on the development and efficiency of memories. Unfortunately, I don't have an answer to give you right now, but according to a French newspaper, the 20 Minutes, the memory losses occurring due to the pandemic could possibly be the result of the anosmia triggered by it. It's in French, but I will still leave a link in the description box below. And I have translated a paragraph that I will read for you right now. We were faced with patients who described fatigue, attention problems, concentration problems, memory problems. The specificity of the virus lay in the anosmia. These patients remained symptomatic well after the infectious period without having any lesions. Also, we immediately thought of brain networks that link olfaction to memory. I thought of this famous Madeleine of Proust. I also came across another study, this time in English. Again, I'll leave it in the description box below. And here's a small paragraph of this study in question. The possibility that severe acute respiratory syndrome may reach the brain via olfactory nerve or an upper nasal transcerebral route is an interesting working hypothesis. Among the identified genetic risk factors for late onset Alzheimer's disease, ApoE4 is one of the strongest and most frequent. People carrying 1 or 2 copies of the E4 allele of ApoE4 have significant odor recognition deficits in comparison to those not carrying this haplotype. I also wanted to add that for the making of this video, I was able to discuss with a few anosmics, some from birth and others no, with whom I had really enriching and interesting conversations. I really wanted to add a testimonial part, but I didn't want this video to be too long. So feel free to tell in the comment section if you wish to see a part 2 with these testimonials in like an interview format, and that way they can share their story with you. So as you may now know, the sense of smell plays an important role in our daily lives. It participates in the pleasures of life and promote our social interactions. Some studies need to be deepened, many hypotheses confirmed, and others are yet to be discovered. It should be noted that around 49% of the population has noted olfactory disorders during their lifetime, with anosmia accounting for 5% of these figures, which is obviously a lot higher today. The negative impacts of the loss of sense of smell impact the mental and emotional health of anosmics, who no longer enjoy their meals, lose their appetite, have difficulties protecting themselves from events in their daily life, have difficulties in their sentimental and social life. And these complications often trigger symptoms of depressions, which only fuel this vicious cycle. Each lost sense is a window that closes on the outside world. And if this metaphor is easily understandable for the other senses, this has not always been the case for the sense of smell. Fortunately, many studies have been able to demonstrate the fascinating power of the sense of smell and its shortfall. We hope that with the recent events, scientists will look more closely into this question and will allow us to discover all the secrets of this still too little explored sense. Thank you for watching this video. Feel free to drop a like if you enjoyed it, and tell us in the comments if this is a type of format worth developing. A big thank you to San Boisveld, sorry if I don't pronounce the name correctly, and Valentina Parma, who shared a great article on this subject, and most of the information I provided through this video come from their article, so I highly suggest reading it if this is something that interests you and if you want to learn more. I'll drop it in the description box below so that you guys can find it easily. And I will also add 2 articles written by Paul that direct to our website, where he discusses about similar issues. So yeah, thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you guys soon.